Good day, everybody. This is Jamie and Cortez along with Rupert Lloyd Panel, and we are here to report Psychoanalytic Social Theory by Karen Horney. Let's start with a little background of Karen Danielson Horney. Her saying is, concern should drive us into action, not into depression. Karen was born in Elbeck, a small town near Hamburg, Germany, on September 15, 1885, the only daughter of Bernd Wacholz Danielson, a sea captain, and Clotilda van Ronselen Danielson, who is 18 years younger than her husband. Karen did not have a happy childhood, as she resented the favored treatment given to her brother, and in addition she worried about the bitterness and discord between her parents. That's why at the age of 13 she decided to become a physician, but at that time no university in Germany admitted women. But that changed when she was 16, so she entered University of Freiburg, becoming one of the first women in Germany to study. She is a German-born American psychoanalyst, while departing from some of the basic principles of Sigmund Freud, suggested an environment and social basis for the personality and its disorders. Her important workbook, entitled Neurosis and Human Growth in 1950, she also questioned traditional Freudian views, as she disagreed with Freud about inherited differences in psychology between men and women, and she traced such differences to society and culture rather than biology. She credited the founding feminist psychology in response to Freud's theory of penis envy. She is often classified as a neo-Freudian. Next is Psychoanalytic Social Theory. Ito ay nagawa dahil sa assumption na ang social and cultural conditions, especially childhood experiences, ay may malaking kontribusyon sa pagluman ng pagkatao natin. Early writings of Karen Horney ay tulad lang din na Adler, Jung, and Klein na may distinctive Freudian flavor. Karamihan sa mga talata nila ay ang may contribution o may karagdagang impormasyon sa mga theoria o researches ni Freud, at karamihan din sa kanila ay ang dumidisagree sa kanyang mga teorya. Horney criticized Freud's theories on several accounts. Una, she cautioned that strict adherence to orthodox psychoanalysis would lead to stagnation in both theoretical thought and therapeutic practice. Ibig sabihin, kung hindi nila ipapalawak ang psychoanalysis, mas hindi mag-i-improve o mag-move forward ang mga practices and theories sa larangan nito. Second, she objected to Freud's idea on feminine psychology. Kilala natin si Freud na ang theories niya ay based purely sa sexual desires, sa lalo na history niya. Kaya in-object niya yun kasi sobrang limited lang ng alam ni Freud tungkol sa female population. And third, she stressed the view that psychoanalysis should move beyond instinctive theory and emphasize the importance of cultural influences in shaping personality. By now, alam na natin na ang personality natin ay hindi siya namamana, hindi siya inherited, ay may malaki pa ring contribution ang mga bagay sa paligid natin. So, sabi nga, kailangan natin mas diinan pa ang influences ng surroundings natin. Tulad kung saan tayo lumaki, ano yung klaseng magulang o tao na nakasama natin habang lumalaki, at kung ano yung mga contribution nun kung sino tayo ngayon. Sabi nga, man is ruled not by the pleasure principle alone, but by two guiding principles, safety and satisfaction. Similarly, she claimed that neuroses are not the result of instincts but rather the person's attempt to find paths through a wilderness full of unknown dangers. This wilderness is created by society and not by instinct or anatomy. Kumbaga, ang personality natin ay hindi lang kung ano yung meron na tayo since we were born, na hindi siya iisa lang o nag-i-stick sa isang bagay simula nang tayo bata pa. Kasi tayo nagbabago, lalo na sa mga kinakasalamuhan natin sa araw-araw. Her main quarrel with Freud is not so much the accuracy of his observation but the validity of his interpretations. Most kasi sa mga theories ni Freud ay base lang siya sa sarili niya and not so much sa mga experiments from other people. In general terms, she held that Freud's explanation resulted in a pessimist concept of humanity based on innate instincts and the stagnation of personality. In contrast, her view of humanity is an optimistic one and is centered on cultural forces that are unable to change. So, yun ang pinagkaiba ni Horney at ni Freud tungkol sa personality. Ano nga ba ang impact ng culture? It is repeatedly emphasized cultural influences as the primary basis for both neurotic and normal personality development. Kung isi-search natin ano ba yung mga impact of development, kung ano yung mga contributions for development, karamihan doon, or most of it, is parents, social, friends, school, tapos environment, kung saan siya lumaki. In modern culture, she contended is based on competition among individuals. Everyone is a real potential competitor for everyone else. Competitiveness and the basic hostility it spawns result in feelings of isolation. These feelings of being alone in a potentially hostile world leads to intensified needs for affection, which in turn cause people to overvalue love. As a result, many people see love and affection as a solution for all their problems. Dito, halata na natin ito na kung saan tayo mas feeling ligtas, kung saan tayo feeling na kung saan tayo mas appreciated, mas dun tayo nagiging satisfied na nagbibigay meaning sa atin. Kasi lalo na kung ang mundo natin kilala ay masama. Ito ay bubunot mula sa importance of childhood experiences. Horney believed that neurotic conflict can stem from almost any developmental stage. Pwede tayong magkaroon ng happy childhood, normal childhood, pero pagdating natin ng pubescent stage or teenage years, doon na tayo magkakaroon ng changes or huge impact. Pwede rin naman na normal ang childhood and teenage years mo, pero even sa early adult, middle adult hanggang sa old age, doon na tayo magkaroon ng mga difficulties or changes na ipapabago sa atin ng tunay. The childhood is the stage from which the vast majority of the problem arises. Ito ay dahil ang bata pa tayo, ang mundong alam natin o ang nakikita natin sa edad na yun, ang inaakala natin, yun na talaga yun. Kung ang nakikita natin sa bahay ay puro masama, ang naiisip natin sa the rest, sa outside, ay masama din. Kung mabuti naman ang household, mabuti rin ang nakikita natin sa ibang tao o sa ibang lugar. Horney in 1939 hypothesized that a difficult childhood is primarily responsible for neurotic needs. These needs become powerful because they are the child's only means of gaining feelings of safety. Nevertheless, no single early experience is responsible for early personality. So, ito, tulad ng, diba, may makakilala tayo na mas gugustuhin pa na kasama ang mga tropa kaysa sa mga tao sa bahay nila. Kumbaga, ito na yan nag-i-stem sa mga daddy and mommy issues. Kumbaga, kung may problema ka sa ama, yung feeling na walang strong male influence sa bahay ninyo, hahanapin mo yun o hahanapin mo yun sa ibang lalaki. Kung hindi ka minahal o pinotektahan ng tatay mo in the image you see, o kung ano yung sa tingin mo ang dapat na role ng isang tatay sa'yo, ay hahanapin mo sa either sa future husband mo o dahil ganito ka tratuhin ng magulang mo, sa tingin mo kapag trato ka ng future partner mo ay tama, either na sweet siya o abusive sa'yo. Kasi kung paano ka minold ng magulang mo, iniisip mo ganun ang tama, ganun ang judgment mo. Horney cautioned that the sum total of childhood experiences bring about a certain character structure or rather start of its development.
Basic hostility and basic anxiety. Horney believed that each person begins life with the potential for healthy development, but like other living organisms, people need favorable conditions for growth. Kasama na rito ang warm and loving environment. Child, Children need to experience both genuine love and healthy discipline. Such conditions provide them with the feelings of safety and satisfaction and permit them to grow in accordance with their real self. But unfortunately, a multitude of adverse influences may interfere with these favorable conditions, lalong-lalo na sa mga magulang na walang kakayahan or unwilling to love their child. Because of their own neurotic needs, parents often dominate, neglect, overprotect, reject, or overindulge. Pag hindi na-satisfy ng magulang ang child's needs for safety and satisfaction, the child develops feeling of basic hostility toward their parents. However, children seldom overtly express this hostility as rage. Instead, they repress their hostility toward their parents and have no awareness of it. Repressed hostility then leads to profound feelings of insecurity and a vague sense of apprehension. This condition is called basic anxiety, which Horney defined as a feeling of being isolated and helpless in a world conceived as potentially hostile. Earlier, she gave a more graphic description calling basic anxiety a feeling of being small, insignificant, helpless, deserted, endangered in a world that is outside to abuse, cheat, attack, humiliate, betray, and envy. Basic hostility and basic anxiety. Horney believed that each person begins life with the potential for healthy development. But like other living organisms, people need favorable conditions for growth. Kasama na rito ang warm and loving environment. Child, Children need to experience both genuine love and healthy discipline. Such conditions provide them with the feelings of safety and satisfaction and permit them to grow in accordance with their real self. But unfortunately, a multitude of adverse influences may interfere with these favorable conditions, lalong-lalo na sa mga magulang na, na walang kakayahan or unwilling to love their child. Because of their own neurotic needs, parents often dominate, neglect, overprotect, reject, or overindulge. Pag hindi na-satisfy ng magulang ang child's needs for safety and satisfaction, the child develops feeling of basic hostility toward their parents. However, children seldom overtly express this hostility as rage. Instead, they repress their hostility toward their parents and have no awareness of it. Repressed hostility then leads to profound feelings of insecurity and a vague sense of apprehension. This condition is called basic anxiety, which Horney defined as a feeling of being isolated and helpless in a world conceived as potentially hostile. Earlier, she gave a more graphic description calling basic anxiety a feeling of being small, insignificant, helpless, deserted, endangered in a world that is outside to abuse, cheat, attack, humiliate, betray, and envy. Horney believed that basic hostility and basic anxiety are inextricably interwoven. Ah, kaya niya sinabi to kasi ang basic hostility and basic anxiety ay konektado. Baga mahirap paghiwalayan, imposible paghiwalay. Hostile impulses are the principal source of basic anxiety, but basic anxiety can also contribute to feelings of hostility. Ang example nito is na sinulat ni Horney is yung binatang lalaki na mayroong repressed hostility pumunta ng hiking sa mountains kasama ang dalagang babae na mahal niya. His repressed hostility, however, also led him to become jealous of the woman. While walking on a dangerous mountain pass, yung binatang lalaki suddenly suffered a severe anxiety attack in the form of rapid heart rate and heavy breathing. The anxiety resulted para inappropriate but conscious impulse to push the young woman doon sa edge ng mountain pass. In this case, basic hostility led to severe anxiety. But anxiety and fear can also lead to strong feelings of hostility. Children who feel threatened by their parents develop a reactive hostility in defense of that threat. This reactive hostility between in turn may create additional anxiety, thus completing the interactive circle between hostility and anxiety. And then she later amended her list of defenses against basic anxiety.
Self-hatred. People with neurotic search for glory can never be happy or satisfied with themselves because when they realize na ang totoong sila o mga capabilities nila ay hindi tugma sa insatiable demands o the impossible demands of their ideal self. Kaya nagsisimula na silang ayawan ang sarili nila. Horney in 1950 recognized 6 major ways in which people express self-hatred. Among the 6 ay relentless demands on the self. Ito yung pinupush nila sarili nila na dapat ganito sila, ganito ang social status nila, ganito ang ugali nila. Laging may should o dapat. Pangalawa ay merciless self-accusation. Ito yung sa lahat na lang na negative na mangyari sa kanila, sa paligid nila, sinisisi nila yung sarili nila na maski mga natural disasters, isisisi nila sa sarili nila. Kumbaga tinatanong nila o sinasabi nila na dahil buhay ako o dahil nandito ako kaya nagkakaroon ng ganitong kamalas-malas sa buhay ng ibang tao. Pangatlo, self-contempt. Pwede siyang ma-expressibility rin, disparaging, doubting, na nagpe-prevent sa kanila na mag-strive o mag-push for improvement or achievement. Self-contempt ay aware sila sa sarili nila na kunyari ako, magaling na ako mag-drawing, pero binibilital ko sarili ko ay hindi ako ganun kagaling at hindi rin ako makakakuha ng awards kung sasali ako sa ganitong challenge. Pangapat, self-frustration. Horney distinguish between healthy discipline and neurotic self-frustration. Kumbaga sa self-discipline, ito yung motivate mo sa sarili mo na sa ganitong oras sa umaga, kunyari 6 to 8 a.m. mag-exercise ka, then after ganito lang kaunting kakainin mo para magkaroon ng healthy living. Pero sa neurotics, napafrustrate sila kasi hindi nila matagurian yung kung ano yung gusto nilang mangyari. Gusto nila mag-improve pero naiinis pa rin sila kasi parang hindi nila ma-push na gawin yun. Parang okay, kaya nila to pero hindi nila magawa kasi mas gusto nila yung kinasanayan nila, hindi nila maalis yung sarili nila doon. Fifth, self-torment or self-torture. Ito yung kadalasan sa mga neurotics, sa mga nakakaranas ng mga problema na sasaktan nila yung sarili nila o minsan nagkakaroon sila ng sobrang lubhang sakit sa ulo o kaya minsan di sila makahinga na maayos, tapos may mga times na nagsa-self-harm sila na nalalastos nila yung mga wrist nila, inner thighs, kakaroon sila ng urge na makapagsimula ng away na alam nila na matatalo sila. Basta, dahil hindi sila satisfied sa sarili na mas gugustuhin na lang nila masaktan sila to feel something, ganyan. And lastly, number 6, self-destructive actions and impulses, which may be physical or psychological, conscious or unconscious, acute or chronic, carried out in action, or enacted only in the imaginations. So, mas nagiging destructive sila sa buhay nila. Sasaktan nila yung mga tao sa paligid nila na either hindi nila namamalayan o gusto nilang manakit ng iba dahil it's either nakikita nila yung gusto nilang characteristics sa tao na to, kaya either ibubuli nila o sisiraan. Compulsive traits. Neurotic individuals with the same problems that affect normal people, except neurotics experience them to a greater degree. Kumbaga, lahat tayo, nagkakaroon tayo or nakakasalamuha tayo na masasamang tao, pero how neurotic people perceive them, mas masakit para sa kanya at mas malala ang situation nila para sa isang normal na individual. According to Horney 1942, insisted that neurotics do not enjoy misery and suffering. Itong mga nararanasan ng mga neurotics, hindi nila ginusto, hindi nila hiniling na ganito yung buhay nila, at hindi nila mapalitan itong mga karanasan nila simply by free will. Hindi agad-agad nila ito na lulutasan o matatakasan. Kaya nagkakaroon sila ng compulsive drives or kailangan nilang protektahan sarili nila against basic anxiety. This defense strategy traps them in a vicious cycle in which their compulsiveness needs to reduce basic anxiety lead to behaviors that perpetuate low self-esteem, generalized hostility, inappropriate striving for power, inflated feelings of superiority, and persistent apprehension, all of which result for more basic anxiety. Etong composite tribes na to ay nagiging neurotic needs, which Horney tentatively identified 10 categories para mawala o makombat nila ang basic anxiety. These needs are more specific than the 4 protective devices na i-discuss mamaya. Una, neurotic need for affection and approval. Gusto nila napapansin lahat ng achievements nila, and they dread for self-assertion. 2. The neurotic need for a powerful partner. Ito rin, marami sa mga taong nakakaranas ng abuse, mas gugustuhin nila maging submissive sa partner nila o magkaroon ng strong person sa buhay nila. Dahil nakilala na nila na buhay o isang partner ay abusive, mas gugustuhin pa nilang mas stuck doon kaysa maging mag-isa sila. 3. The neurotic need to restrict one's life within narrow borders. Ito yung mga taong dahil nasanay na sila na laging hinihindian, kaya nagkakaroon sila ng place na maging maliit, magsasettle sa kung ano lang ang meron sila, to be in second place. Kontento na sila sa maliit na bagay at minsan kung ano yung makita mong o ipakita sa kanilang bare minimum, tuwan-tuwa na sila doon. Dinedegrade nila yung qualities na deserve nila. The neurotic need for power. Kung isa naman gusto maliit lang siya, ito naman yung iba naman gusto sila yung nasa taas, sila yung number one. Power and affection. The need for power is usually combined with the need for prestige and possession and manifests itself as the need to control others and to avoid feelings of weakness or stupidity. Number 5. The neurotic need to exploit others. Ito yun dahil insecure na yung mga neurotics. Gusto nilang ibunyag ang mga pagkakamali at maliitin ang lahat ng tao sa paligid nila to show na sila yung best. Pero takot din sila ma-exploit ng ibang tao. Number 6. The neurotic need for social recognition or prestige. Some people combat basic anxiety by trying to be first, to be important, and to attract attention to themselves. Tulad ng neurotic need for power. Dapat sila lang yung, kumbaga sila yung bida-bida, dapat sila yung tama, sila yung tinitingalaan ng ibang tao. 7. The neurotic need for personal admiration. Neurotics have the need to be admired for what they are rather than what they possess. So, kung mahirap man yung isang tao o mayaman, ayaw nilang na-appreciate sila dahil lang din sa fact na mahirap sila o nag-strive hard sila o dahil may pera sila. Dapat kung sino sila as a person. Dahil ini-inflate nila ang self-esteem nila sa admiration na kung sino sila. Baling, palit-ulit nilang sinabi na nag-medical ako, mabait ako, ganun, palit-ulit silang gaganon. The neurotic need for ambition and personal achievement, yun yung 8. Neurotics often have a strong drive to be the best salesperson, the best bowler, the best lover. They must defeat others in order to confirm their superiority. So kahit bare minimum lang ang kaya nila, ipaparamdam nila o papakita nila na sila yung the best in everything. Number 9. The neurotic need for self-sufficiency and independence. May neurotics na they have the strong urge to move away from people, thereby proving they can get along without others. Kumbaga, kaya na nila ang sarili nila, hindi na nila kailangan na umasa pa sa ibang tao. And the neurotic need for perfection and unassailability. By striving relentlessly for perfection, neurotics receive proof of their self-esteem and personal superiority. They dread making mistakes and have personal flaws, and they desperately attempt to hide their weaknesses from others. Ito na yung mga tao na sa tingin natin perfection sila, wala silang mararanasang mali. Kumbaga, kung ano yung pinapakita niya sa ibang tao, hindi siya yung ganun pag nakita na o nakilala na natin siya sa sarili niyang pamamahay. Kasi kailangan nilang hindi magpakita na weak sila o pwede silang api-apihin. Neurotic trends naman. People can use each of the neurotic trends to solve basic conflict, but unfortunately, these solutions are essentially unproductive or neurotic. Horney 1950 used the term basic conflict because very young children are driven in all three directions, towards, against, and away from people. Ang neurotic trends natin ay moving toward people, moving against, and moving away. And each category ay may akmang neurotic needs sa kanila. Ang toward people, the compliant personality, feeling of helplessness. Sila yung bumabasa sila o dependent sila sa iniisip, sa opinions ng ibang tao. Kaya ang normal analog nila ay friendly and loving. Ang against people naman, the aggressive personality, protection against hostility of others. Ito yung mga, dahil ikaw dapat ang the best, mas angat ka dapat sa kanila. Yun yung iniisip nila. So, ang normal analog nila, ang ability to survive in a competitive society. And third, away from people, the detached personality, feelings of isolation. Dahil gusto mo independent ka, hindi ka umaasa sa ibang tao, your normal analog is autonomous and serene. Mas prefer mo na ikaw lang mag-isa, tahimik lang ang buhay mo at walang umaasa sa'yo at hindi ka umaasa sa ibang tao.
As a woman trained in the promasculine psychology of Freud, Horney gradually realized that the traditional psychoanalytic view of women was skewed. She then set forth her own theory, the one that rejected several of Freud's basic ideas. For Horney, psychic differences between men and women are not the result of anatomy but rather are cultural and social expectations. Men who subdue and rule women and women who degrade or envy men do so because of the neurotic competitiveness that is rampant in many societies. Horney insisted that basic anxiety is at the core of men's needs to subjugate women and women's wish to humiliate men. Although Horney recognized the existence of Oedipus complex, she insisted that it was due to certain environment conditions and not to biology. If it were the result of anatomy, as Freud contended, then it would be the universal. However, Horney saw no evidence for a universal Oedipus complex. Instead, she held that it is found only in some people and is an expression of neurotic or love. The neurotic need for affection and the neurotic need for aggression usually begin in childhood and are the two of the three basic neurotic trends. A child may passionately cling to one parent and express jealousy toward the other, but these behaviors are means of alleviating the basic anxiety and not manifestations of an anatomically based Oedipus complex. Even when there is a sexual aspect of these behaviors, the child's main goal is security, not sexual intercourse. Horney found the concept of penis envy even less tenable. She contended that there is no more anatomical reason why girls should be envious of the penis than boys should desire a breast or a womb. In fact, boys sometimes do express a desire to have a baby, but this desire is not the result of a universal male womb, womb envy. Horney agreed with Adler that many women possess a masculine protest, that is, they have a pathological belief that men are superior to women. This perception easily leads to the neurotic desire to be a man. The desire, however, is not an expression of penis envy, but rather a wish for all those qualities of privileges which in our culture are regarded as masculine. Horney believed that neuroses grow out of basic conflict that usually begins in childhood. As people attempt to solve this conflict, they are likely to adopt one of the three neurotic trends, namely the moving toward, against, or away from others. Each of these tactics can produce temporary relief, but eventually they drive the person further away from actualizing the real self and deeper into a neurotic spiral. The general goal of Hornean therapy is to help patients gradually grow in the direction of self realization. Specifically, the aim is to have patients give up their idealized self image, relinquish their neurotic search for glory, and change self hatred to an acceptance of the real self. But unfortunately, patients are usually convinced that their neurotic solutions are correct, so they are reluctant to surrender their neurotic trends. Even though patients have a strong investment in maintaining the status quo, they do not wish to remain ill. They find a little pleasure in their sufferings and would like to be free of them. Unfortunately, they tend to resist change and cling to those behaviors that perpetuate their illness. The three neurotic trends can be cast in favorable terms such as love, mastery, or freedom. Because patients usually see their behaviors in these positive terms, their actions appear to them to be healthy, right, and desirable. The therapist's task is to convince pa- patients that their present solutions are perpetuating rather than alleviating the core neurosis. A task that takes much time and hard work. Patients may look for quick cures of solutions, but the only long, laborious process of understanding can affect positive change. Self understanding must go beyond information, it must be accompanied by an emotional experience. Patients must understand their pride system, their idealized image, their neurotic search for glory, their self-hatred, their shoulds, their alienation from self, and their conflicts. Moreover, they must see how all of these factors are interrelated and operate to preserve their basic neuroses. Although therapies can help encourage patients toward understanding, ultimate successful therapy is built on one's self-analysis. Patients must understand the difference between their idealized self-image and the real self. Fortunately, people possess an inherent curative force that allows them to move inevitably in the direction of self-realization once self-understanding and self-analysis are achieved. As to techniques, Hornean therapies use many of the same employed by Freudian therapies. especially dream interpretation and free association. Horney saw dreams as attempts to solve conflicts, but the solution can be either neurotic or healthy. When the therapists provide a correct interpretations, patients help toward a better understanding of their real self. From dreams, the patient can catch a glimpse, even in the initial phase of analysis, of a word of operating within him, which is peculiarly his own, and which is more true of his feelings than the world of his illusions. With the second major technique, associations, patients are asked to say everything that comes to mind regardless of how trivial or embarrassing it may seem. They are also encouraged to express whatever feelings may arise from the associations. As with dream interpretation, free association eventually reveals patients' idealized self-image and persistent but unsuccessful attempts at accomplishing it. When therapy is successful, patients gradually develop confidence in their ability to assume responsibility for their psychological development. They move toward self-realization in all those processes that accompany it. They have a deeper and clearer understanding of their feelings, beliefs, and wishes. They relate to others with genuine feelings instead of using people to solve basic conflicts. At work, they take a greater interest in the job itself rather than seeing it as a means to perpetuate a neurotic search for glory.